You know, I almost didn't do one of these this year. My main goal is to get through my 10 favorite directors by the end of the decade. I have 4 down, but out of my favorite directors, not many of them have movies coming out this year. The only one is Robert Zemeckis, who has a movie coming out called Allied. But the only problem was that I had only seen about half of his movies. So I basically had to watch the other ones while worrying about all this other shit I have to do. Now some of you may be thinking, how can you put Robert Zemeckis as one of your favorite directors if you only saw half of his movies? Well, the half that I have seen have been really freaking good. 3 of them are in my top 20 favorite films of all time. Plus, he's a lot like Spielberg in that not only does he make great entertainment, but some of his films are kind of groundbreaking in either effects or pop culture influence. He's been making films for about as long, but he doesn't have enough to cover an entire month. So we'll just be doing one a day leading up to the day Allied comes out. And again, it's only movies he's directed, so no 1941 or The Frighteners. So without any further ado, here's my Zemeck-ithon. And we'll start with I Wanna Hold Your Hand. I Wanna Hold Your Hand was a pretty big surprise for me. A film about Beatle-mania and the Beatles' first American television appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show didn't really cross my mind as something that would be that interesting. But I was actually thoroughly entertained. The film follows a group of 20-somethings pretending to be high schoolers as they head to New York to sneak into the Beatles' hotel room. The group includes Pam, a bride-to-be played by Nancy Allen, Rosie, an obsessed fanatic played by Wendy Jo Scherber, Grace, a photographer played by Teresa Saldana, the Beatles haters, Tony and Janice, and Larry, the poor bastard dragged into the situation. When they get to the hotel, they are separated as they all go on their separate adventures to meet the Beatles. I like this plot. The whole different adventures set in one day story is one of my favorite plots. And this one works well because I genuinely wanted to see the girls get what they want. Especially Rosie. I loved her pure fangirl glee. And I originally thought I was gonna be annoyed by these women because there's a lot of screaming in this. It's kind of hard to get mad at someone just because they're a huge fan. One of the best parts of the movie is showing how fucking crazy Beatle-mania was. I mean, yes, some of this is exaggeration, but in terms of how they act, I've seen people act like this for modern pop stars like Justin Bieber and One Direction. So I can't even imagine how crazy it must have been when the Beatles were at their peak. Also, showing that some people were annoyed with Beatle-mania and found their music to be shit, it made me realize that some things really don't change. People just hate stuff because it's popular, not because they have any reason to. It's just, hey, people like this, it is automatically the worst thing ever. Eddie Deazen's in this movie and he is absolutely hilarious, but then again, he's Eddie Deazen. He's always funny. Some parts of the film honestly feel like a heist movie. It actually got pretty suspenseful. One of my favorite parts is when they're trying to avoid a cop and they hide in a closet while he's out in the hall. I actually was on the edge of my seat during this scene.
The elevator's here. The elevator's here.
I only have 2 major problems with this movie. One is that some of the exposition is incredibly forced. I mean, right at the beginning, the movie starts out with Pam just flat out explaining how she is eloping with her fiancé. But by far my biggest problem was Tony. Good God, this character was annoying. I get that for most of the movie I was supposed to hate him, but it was the wrong kind of hate. I didn't hate him because he's an asshole. I hated him because he's a whiny asshole. In almost every scene he's either fucking up their plans or complaining. And he didn't even have to be there. He forced himself into the car. But yeah, besides those, I actually really enjoyed this film. It's no masterpiece, but for a first time effort, it was pretty good. I give it a 7 out of 10. It shows a nice look back at a piece of pop culture history that I've rarely seen explored. So tomorrow we'll be heading into the 80s with another relatively unknown film, Used Cars. See you then.